The Louie T Network is powered by MusicHead University. MusicHeads, classes in session. Turn me up. Enroll on YouTube now. Link is in the description.
Who else could it be? Me, your man, Louie T. Welcome to the Command Post Live. You know what it is. Post up. Take command. I, of course, am your commander-in-chief, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. So, minicamp is officially over, and I must say, that was a very interesting offseason, to say the least. Offseason is now in the books. We out here having fun, man. I know y'all saw the video clip of them dancing today at practice. It was so much fun to watch them having fun. And that's kind of how this offseason has been, right? Just a lot of fun. It's been fun watching people lose their shit over our happiness, which is crazy to me. I never thought I would see so many people upset at me being happy because my team ain't ass anymore. I never thought I would see that. And I don't know if it's because we're so brash about our quarterback's talents and what he can be in this league after just 1 year. I don't know if that's what's off-putting to people. I don't know if it's just they got so accustomed to us being a bottom feeder franchise in this league that now that we're not, it's difficult for them to understand and realize. And I think it really hurts that they realize we ain't going back. Because it's not just Jaden, and even though that's a massive part of this turnaround, it ain't just Jaden. It's what he and DQ and Adam Peters and Josh Harris all represent. They represent a changing of the guard. They represent freshness. They represent new life. And not just now and in the present day. They represent a future that is so bright. We probably all need shades to even get a peek and a glimpse at it. But this offseason was just so much fun because we have so many expectations that have been set because of what this team did and what transpired last year. I've never, ever in my life, okay, went into a season expecting to win a Super Bowl. I've never done that. I've never done that. Well, I'm doing it now. And I thought the way that camp ended was a perfect exclamation point, man. We styling and we profiling on these hoes. We dancing on these hoes. 2025 is about to be a movie. You don't believe me?
Where your Roy at? Bitch, you lagging. checking out shit. You think they camping out here? You think they just rapping out here? Where your reward is? So you ain't playing for keeps. So you ain't clutching your piece. So you ain't protecting your peace. Where your reward is?
Our rookie, he got us trill, man. Even Major Tutty is in on the act. Who's as live as us? Tell me. Who's as live as us right now? Who's as trill as us right now? Nobody. That's why they hate us, because they ain't us. They mad and they sad because we bad. The fun thing is we just getting started. We just getting started. We retooled this offseason. We added some big-time pieces to the puzzle. We got as much competition as I can remember at several key spots on this team. The depth is exponentially better than it was a season ago. We competing at a high level this year. And to me, this ending to minicamp, putting an exclamation point on the offseason as a whole, because the next time we see DQ, the next time we see Jaden Daniels, the next time we see these boys gracing a football field, you know what time it is. Once again, it's on. It's time. It's time. It's time. It's NFL time. Next time we see these boys on the field, it's our time. Training camp, and it ain't no turning back. But before we have those conversations, because you know that's what's going to happen over the next month and some change, right? DQ said 40 days, so that means our training camp probably doesn't start until late July, like July 24th or something like that. What's 40 days from today? Let's count. So today is the 12th. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 30. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 40. So July 22nd is when training camp must begin for them, because he said 40 days. So that's right around where it usually starts, either the 22nd or the 23rd. So I'm excited about, you know, every video that is posted, there's Eagles fans, there's Cowboys fans. I wasn't even aware of this. I was made aware of this. Shout out to my girl, Miss Perry, a.k.a. Condo P, a.k.a. Miss P, a.k.a. Playoff P, who sent me a Buccaneers fan. I didn't even know Bucs fans was salty, right? I've heard of Bears fans being upset. I've heard of Lions fans being upset. I haven't encountered any of those, by the way. Maybe some Bears fans, but nothing too major, nothing to get me hot and bothered, right? But I didn't know that the Bucs were upset too. I said, my quarterback is out here collecting fans' souls like Infinity Stones. We got Lions fans hot because we put them out of the offs last year. We got Bucs fans hot because we put them out the offs last season. Got Bears fans mad because we ended their entire season last year. I'm like, can't we all just get along? I guess not. I guess not. I guess that's the cost of being great. That's the cost of doing business when you got one of them ones at quarterback. I guess. I don't know. This is our first year. You know, we're figuring things out. We're new here. Guess this is the cost of doing business. Anyway, we got some things to discuss. We're going to put an exclamation point on minicamp. And then DQ spoke today. Laramie Tunsil had some interesting things to say today. So we'll talk about some of the things he said. Then I want to transition to a couple of interesting topics based off of some videos that I watched. I don't know how I missed them, but I did. And the other day I circled back, watched them, and I wanted to talk about what those videos said to me. Okay. So with that said, let's talk about the final day of mandatory minis, day 3. So it was a brief practice. We knew that it was going to be abbreviated. They did do some 7-on-7. They did do 11-on-11. Jaden Daniels and Marcus Mariota participated in 7-on-7. They did not participate, however, in 11-on-11. So that was handled by Sam Hartman and Josh Johnson. Luke McCaffrey, for the 3rd day in a row, caught a touchdown pass. So he continues what has been a very impressive week of practice. And I think that's a great way for him to end on this massive high note as we head into training camp. We don't know the severity of the Noah Brown injury. We'll talk more about that when we get to DQ's presser. But there was a barbecue that was had for the players, their families. You had members of ownership there. I mean, it's just different now, man. It's just different. And again, I don't know what other teams are doing, right? I don't know if other teams are doing this or not. If they are, more power to them, right? We don't have to shit. This is the thing. And this is why I always want us to remain humble, right? In the sense of being true to who we are. We don't have to match their energy, right? These other teams that's coming at us with all this craziness. Because as I've always told you, karma, she is a bitch, boy. Woo-hoo-hoo. And I mean that in the nicest way. She is a son bitch. And she don't miss. So we don't have to stoop to their level. It'll all take care of itself. However, I'm not looking to compare us to anybody else or demean another team to elevate us. That's not what we got to do. I just know our group out here is special. And the first reason why it's special is because they treat everybody that's involved with this organization special. From the grounds crew to the trainers, to the people in the cafeteria, players, the players' families, whomever. That's what they do. And they show these guys that they care. And when you show people that you care about them off the field, forget about football. I care about you as a man. How's your wife doing? How's your kids doing? How's your grandma? You just told me your grandma had surgery. How's grandma doing? When people start asking you questions like that, when people start inquiring about your personal life and they don't want to talk about football, when you're supposed to have one foot out the door because, man, I got 40 days. I can't wait to get away from football. This is my last chance to really kick back with the fam before this shit really gets going, and it ain't going to stop until we done, right? No. Let's have a barbecue, man. Bring your family. Y'all come on out. Kick it with your teammates. Continue to forge this brotherhood before y'all hit the bricks. You got members of ownership that came out today. It's different around here, man. It's different. It's different. So that's a perfect segue to DQ's presser from today. He started out by talking about the barbecue that they had for the players and their families, and getting an opportunity to get to know. And DQ was like, with some of these people, especially the rookies, we want to know who you got coming. Like, who's your person, right? And this is just another opportunity. He said, in a lot of instances, when you get to this point of the offseason, when you get to that last minicamp practice, guys got 1 foot in the door, 1 foot out the door, because they know I got 40 days. And I'm going to take advantage of it. And he said, nah, dudes, they were genuinely trying to spend time with each other, introduce families to one another, have their kids out there running around. It's a family environment over here, man. Gotta love it. He talked about Wes Welker and Ken Norton breaking down the team. And he said that Ken Norton told them, you got to be ready for the moment, because you never know when it's going to present itself, but you got to be ready. If you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready, right? If you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready. And DQ said Ken Norton told him his moment didn't come until year 5. That's when he won his first Super Bowl in Dallas. And that started a string of 3 straight years in which Ken Norton Jr. won a Super Bowl. He won 2 with Dallas in 92 and 93. Then he went to the 49ers in free agency, and they won the Super Bowl in 94. So Ken Norton won 3 straight Super Bowls with 2 different franchises. I think Charles Haley might have done the same thing, because I think he went with him to San Francisco as well. Dion, I know, was there in 94. And then he left and went to Dallas in 95, and they won the Super Bowl. But I digress. And then Wes Welker spoke. Wes Welker, white wide receiver whisperer, addressed the team and said, this is what winning time moments is all about. It's this time right now that prepares you for winning time moments. The work you put in to be ready for training camp is going to prepare you for winning time moments. It's the preparation when nobody's watching. Now you don't have the team telling you where you got to be, what time you got to get up, when you got to work out, when you're supposed to be in meetings, when you're supposed to be watching film. Ain't nobody telling you. It's almost the equivalent. These 40 days are the equivalent of going from high school to college. Moms was waking you up, making sure you got up, got you something to eat. If you caught the bus, catch the bus. If you were driving, making sure you got to school on time. Then you go to college and ain't nobody making you do a damn thing. You in the dorm. You might have had a party the night before. You got an 8 a.m. class. You can get up if you want, or you could sleep in and miss class. It's up to you. Ain't nobody forcing you to do nothing. What you gonna do? That was essentially Wes Welker's messages. Hey, you got 40 days. What you gonna do with them? We ain't telling you it's got to be football all the time. Get away from it for a little bit. But when it's time to put in that work, put that work in. So when you show up here late July, you ready to hit the ground running to help produce those winning time moments. So good stuff from those two. DQ then, of course, that's what I tell you. I said, John Keim always gets the first question. And I said, John Keim's going to ask about Noah Brown. Of course he is. And I thought we were going to get an answer. So the answer he gave us worries me. Here's why. Because if Noah Brown were okay, you'd know right away. Like, you could do an MRI just to be sure. But normally, if there isn't any structural damage, they can tell right away. They press on certain areas because DQ did, because he doesn't have to, right? It's the offseason. He doesn't have to disclose where the injury is, what the injury is, et cetera, et cetera. So we all know it's lower extremity, right? He limped off the field. He was carted off, right? Like these are all lower, like everyone that was there knows it's lower extremity. They just don't know what. Is it an ACL? Is it an Achilles? It could be something else totally non-related to that. It could be hamstring. It could be calf, right? He could have torn a calf muscle. We don't know what he did, right? But we just assume, because we've watched football for so long, that generally speaking, if somebody goes down with a significant injury, and especially if it's non-contact, don't know if because he went down to the ground, don't know if someone fell on him or whatever the case may be. But if it's non-contact, which I don't think his was because he went down to the ground, but we usually can deduce that it's one of two things. It's either your ACL or it's your Achilles, right? Well, DQ said he didn't have an update, that he's getting an MRI today. And that's the smart thing for DQ to do. They already know. I think it's a morbid, situation for us as fans and for Noah Brown and team. It's unfortunate, but I think the results are morbid, because had DQ just come out and said what he probably already knows, which is Noah Brown's season is done, guess what the press conference would have turned into? It would have turned into a Noah Brown wide receiver. Who's going to step up? What does this loss mean? He would have had to answer at least 5 to 8 Noah Brown questions, and questions that were based off of his response to Noah Brown's injury. And it would have hijacked the final presser of the offseason. Instead of him being able to talk about some of the things that he ended up talking about, which I thought were really positive, it would have turned into, who's the next man up? What does this mean for the receiver position? Yada, yada. Like, instead of doing that, I don't know. He hasn't gotten his MRI yet. He's due to get it today. They already know, because again, normally when you get injured, the trainer can go up to you and he can press on certain parts of your leg, and usually they can tell if things are still attached or not. And again, it's not all, that's just a quick way of testing to see what's going on, right? Can you bend? Can you do this? Can you do that? Does this hurt? Does that hurt? Obviously the MRI is going to tell you the full story and give you a full spectrum as to the extent of whatever is going on. But usually, just like when we're in season, right? Just like when we're in season and a player goes down in the game, and after the game, the coach says, it's not good. It's not looking good. They don't have the MRI yet, but you know how he can tell you it's not looking good? Because they've already done preliminary tests. They've checked his leg. They've done enough to know, yeah, this isn't really good here, right? Well, they know about Noah Brown. I just don't think they wanted to tell us, and I don't blame them for that. But I'm operating as if it's not good. I hope I'm wrong. Man, I hope I'm wrong. But he said that Noah Brown's getting his MRI today. So you know what it feels like? I'm gonna be honest with you. It feels like a Friday news dump when they disclose his injury. We'll find out tomorrow at 5:47. ESPN will drop a da-da-da. You'll look at your phone. Commanders wide receiver Noah Brown out for the year with a blank, 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 right? That's what it feels like. Friday news dump. I hope I'm wrong. I want to be wrong so bad here. I've just seen this before. He talked about Nick Bellor's leadership, how Nick Bellor was out there today and has been out there throughout the offseason, but today in particular, showing guys tips, tricks of the trade. He's one of the best in the game, has been for a while. And he said, Nick, he said, Nick looks like a coach out there. We didn't ask Nick to do that. Nick doesn't have to do that. But, that's just guys paying it forward, and that's a part of the brotherhood, man. And we talk about this all the time. You're only as strong as your weakest link. So, Nick Bellor is past the point of his career where he's worried about somebody taking his job. Anybody taking Nick Bellor's job? signed a 2-year deal. Nick's going to be here for 2 years if he wants to be here for 2 years. Like, he ain't got to worry about showing somebody this is how you do this or this is how you do that because, or, you know, this is one of the tricks I use, right? Because guess what? Nick Ballore is like 36 years old. You know, he ain't got but so much time left. So he ain't tripping. You know, when you young in the game, you know, you worried about somebody taking your spot. So you may not necessarily be invested in helping someone else's growth and development. But again, that's the brotherhood. I smile. My heart smiles when Brandon Coleman says, yeah, I embraced Josh Connolly Jr. and showed him the ropes and told him what to expect and told him what he needed to prepare himself for. He didn't have to do that. That's a second-year player and a guy that I don't want to say is coming in taking his spot, but Coleman was going to get an opportunity to compete for the right tackle position. Once they drafted Josh Connolly, that man was sent immediately to guard. And he didn't blink, he didn't bat an eye, and he wasn't upset. He didn't hold contempt for him. He said, no, let me welcome you into this brotherhood, man. Let me help you get up to speed so you can help us get to our ultimate goal. That's what you are looking for. That's what the brotherhood is all about. And he talked about Nick Ballore showing that leadership. He talked about Chris Rodriguez and how he's come into the offseason in shape. He's done a lot of the things that they've asked him to do. And, you know, he highlighted Chris Rodriguez among other guys last year as players who stayed ready. Guys that, you know, were ready when their number was called, didn't know if they were going to be up this week or if they were going to be inactive, didn't know if they were even going to be on the roster, right? You know, Rodriguez wasn't a part of this team's 53-man roster for much of the season. But on a weekly basis, he didn't know if he would be pulled up and be active or not. But he was always ready when his number was called. And, you know, DQ said that's a crowded running back room, man. It is loaded. And I talked about this. I've talked about the depth of not just specific positions, but the depth of this roster. This is a deep football team now. Again, we still have to upgrade the talent on this football team. But make no mistake about it. From where we were last year to where we are now, we are light years ahead of schedule in terms of talent. It's not the same, right? And Chris Rodriguez has an uphill battle. For those of you who are Chris Rodriguez stands out there, it's going to be tough. Because barring some sort of catastrophe, 3 of the roster spots at running back are spoken for between Bill, Brian Robinson Jr., and Austin Eckler, right? So B-Rob, Eck, Bill, and McNick feels like he's on this roster too right now. So it feels like Chris Rodriguez is on the practice squad again. That's what it feels like. But, you know, we're going to see. And we talked about Michael Wiley making an impression this offseason. I played the clip for y'all from Coach Anthony Lynn, the running backs coach, talking about Michael Wiley having the best offseason of all the running backs, the young running backs. And I talked about, you know, Michael Wiley being in on some first-team reps. Again, this is the offseason. They're shuffling guys around. It's nothing to see a guy that we know good and well won't be out there with the first team when the dust settles and the smoke clears. But, you know, the fact that they had him out there, again, it's Kaz Allen is another guy that I think looks a lot better. Demetric Felton is a veteran that can do a lot of things, including return kickoffs. You know, the more you can do. So Rodriguez feels like he's, you know, fighting an uphill battle, but again, another guy in a very deep running back room. I thought this was a really interesting question. DQ was asked about the right side of the offensive line. So we think that our left side of the offensive line has a chance to be superb with Laramie Tunzel, Brandon Coleman, and then Tyler Biotish as your center. From that center position over, it feels like our shit might be ironclad on that left side. However, the right side, not so much. Obviously, Sam Cosmi, with his injury, leaves a void at right guard. I think Nick Allegretti is the guy most suited to fill that void right now. But, we'll see. There's going to be competition there, obviously. And then right tackle, the job is JCJ's to lose. But he's a rookie. And with being a rookie, usually comes some growing pains and some rookie mistakes. So that right side, we'll see, right? And DQ was basically like, Sam Cosmi's hitting all of his marks, right? He's in all of his markers. We're not going to miss a step. We've heard that a million times when it comes to somebody that's injured. And we believe him. He's not going to miss a step. We know. I got to say it again. I'm not sure he won't be ready for week 1. He was working off to the side yet again today. Look, I get it. You know what I mean? The likelihood is Sam Cosmi probably will start the season off on the PUP list, right? But until I get confirmation that Sam Cosmi won't be ready until mid-October, I am of the belief and the mindset that Sam Cosmi will be ready week 1. He's young. He's put in the work. And he was one of the strongest guys. I remember Brandon Sheriff, when Cosmi was first drafted, said, Sam Cosmi is one of the strongest guys on the team. I think Sam Cosmi's going to bounce back like round ball. I'm not rushing him, and I don't want him to come back until he feels like he's 200% healthy. I'm not saying, I'm just saying, but even in the event if he's not ready, I fully trust Nick Allegretti to step in there and we be just fine, right? We'll be just fine. And then we'll see what Josh Connolly does. And DQ just said, look, it's tons of competition. We like what we've developed and he said, it's a great problem to have. That right side is, knowing that we got depth. He said it's a lot better and it beats the alternative of, I don't know what the hell we're going to do on the right side. We got stuff, we got a young boy. We got a veteran that played last year and started every single game and played well, better than we expected him to, at least, in Andrew Wiley, right? And then you got Nick Allegretti, who started every game for us last year as well and played really well last season. So, again, we're fine. We're fine. DQ talked about the trickiness of the offseason and how there's a delicate balance that you have to try to manage when it comes to, not having contact and what drills to do and how much team participation you want in terms of 7-on-7, 11-on-11, that sort of thing. Because he's like, I call it the Rudy syndrome, right? When you're a veteran this time of the year, you go hard when you need to, but your job isn't necessarily on the line. You understand what you need to do, what you need out of this particular drill, how hard you need to go for it to benefit you. You might only need 70% for this particular drill for it to benefit you, right? So, and DQ pretty much said for the veterans, they understand how all of this is supposed to go and what is required of them. He said it's the rookies and the young guys that are fighting for their lives, that are trying to establish themselves, that want to garner attention and make a name for themselves. Those are the ones you got to try to hold back. Those are the guys where, as coaches, it's our job to make sure we keep everything intact, because those guys are fighting for their NFL lives. Those guys are trying to make a name for themselves. Every practice, every rep, they're trying to get their name on the radar of these coaches, of the general manager. And so he's like, if we were in that situation, we would be doing the same thing. So, you know, it's tough to be able to rein those guys in and tell them, hey, don't go, you know, as hard, because they trying to make this team. So he said it's a delicate balance. The veterans get it, but the young guys, it's tough. He talked about Jaden's growth and his comfort level this offseason. And he pointed to, you know, Jaden's continued development, how he just commands practice, you know, has the offense really down packed to this point. And he said last year, you know, Jaden did this as well, pulling guys to the side, especially if you're new, working with you, getting reps in. He said, I even remember very vividly Jaden doing that with Noah Brown. I remember it too, because Noah Brown had gotten here literally right before the start of the season, right? He was kind of a surprise cut by the Texans as they trimmed their roster down to 53. And it was exactly what we needed. And they brought him in, and immediately their first practice, Jaden pulled him to the side, and they were getting some extra reps in. And I remember us thinking, man, that's what a leader does, right? We didn't know how great of a leader Jaden was at that time. We just like, man, this kid, he's checking off all the boxes. And, you know, DQ said, you know, fast forward to present day, he's doing it now. He's done it with Deebo. He's gotten reps with the younger guys. Speaking of young guys, Jalen Lane and Michael Gallup were working off on the side field, and then they went in earlier. John Bates went in early today too, but again, he didn't look like anything was wrong with him. But just a side note, right? But he's like, he's gotten in work with all the young guys, with Deebo, you know, with Luke McCaffrey, and, you know, just showing that leadership, showing that growth, continuing to, you know, try to elevate the play of others around him. And so he's like, Jaden kept, I talked about this yesterday, kept a zone read, and took off. And Lionel Willingham said it would have been a house call. It was a great read by Jaden. And DQ said he was tracked as one of the fastest players of the offseason on that play. So it just goes to show you just the athleticism and all of the talents that he possesses. So he said that they, you know, they're really looking forward to seeing him really unlock that next level in year 2. Speaking of year 2, DQ was asked about staying in the moment, really not trying to get too high or look too far into the future. We all know about the expectations. I started off this video that we are currently in right now talking about Super Bowl expectations. It's impossible if you've got a pulse, it's impossible for you not to be able to look ahead and say, man, I think this team has a chance to be great. And you look at all of the things that are being said, you look at all of the things the NFL has put in front of us, and there are expectations. And again, these guys are human. But DQ has done a great job of, hey, let's stay in the moment. How do I get better today? How do I get better on this drill? How do I get better on this rep? He said the key is breaking it into chunks, right? That's how you stay in the moment and not allow yourself to get too far ahead of where you're going. And so for these players, how do I keep myself mentally locked in and physically engaged over these next 40 days? That's the next piece of the puzzle for these guys. Nothing more, nothing less. You know, how do I balance needing to recharge the battery? And we'll talk about DQ talking about recharging the battery here in a second. How do I balance recharging the battery with making sure I stay in great physical shape so that when I come back and rejoin my teammates and hit the field for training camp, I'm ready to go. No setbacks. He then said, that's where the brotherhood comes into play and the importance of working out with teammates. Because, and he said, this is Ken Norton, you know, made that message clear to the team today when he spoke. He said, you guys do things together. He said, when I was young in my career, I had a teammate that, you know, he pushed me on the field to run, right? There were days where I didn't want to run and he forced me to run. You ain't telling your teammate no, right? He said, but then in turn, I was a weight room guy. I pushed that guy in the weight room. So we were able to really push each other in different avenues, but also hold each other accountable, right? And, you know, that's, I always talk about, you know, sports being a microcosm of life. You know, one of my favorite quotes is, if you want to go fast, you know, in life, go alone. If you want to go far in life, go together, right? So you want to skip through, like DQ said, it's a choice. Everything you do is a choice. Like, you don't feel like working out today, that's a choice. But when you work with teammates, when you work out with somebody else, that's going to be like, nah. Because we've all had those days where, like, I don't feel like going to the gym today. I'm tired. Had a long day or a long night, whatever. I don't feel like going today. You know, and the devil's on your shoulder saying, hey, you'll go tomorrow, bro. You don't got to go today. You tired. And it's those days I've always said that make the difference, right? It's those days where you really don't feel like doing it. Those are the days that make the difference. When you push yourself and you go anyway. It's a lot easier to have that happen when it's somebody else saying, hey, come on, bro, we got to go. Versus relying on yourself to make that decision, because it's easy for you to just check out and say, yeah, I'll get after it tomorrow. DQ talked about recharging the battery. And he said, you know, and we've heard him say this before, so this isn't new. But he talked about how hard they go when they're together. He's like, man, we exhaust every avenue and we drain the battery. He's like, right now, everybody's meter is on red. And he said it was like that after the season. It was like that after, you know, the draft and, you know, all of the things going down in the off season. And he's like, it's right there now. And so this is the opportunity to refill the battery, get it back to green, because it ain't no more opportunities to recharge the battery after this. It's just constantly on the go from here on out once you get to July 22nd. So it is important for these guys to get away from football for a little bit, you know, spend some time with some family, go on vacation, whatever it is, you know, you need to do to recharge the battery. This is the time to definitely do that. DQ talked about the year 2 picture and, you know, the clarity of it. And he said, man, last year was rough. And he admitted, like, yo, last year was definitely, you know, us kind of on a scramble drill the entire year. You know, you get hired in, then he got hired in February, if I'm not mistaken, did DQ. And it had to be because it was the week of the Senior Bowl. It's when he got hired the week of the Senior Bowl. So it was either late January, early February, I guess. Because I think the Senior Bowl is the weekend before the Super Bowl. So it's probably that first weekend of February. So it was either late January, early February. And he was going nonstop from that point forward, right? And he said, you know, it was a roller coaster ride. You were kind of figuring out a lot of things on the fly. And he's like, we didn't know what we didn't know last year. You know, certain players, are we playing them in the right position? What are what are these players' best attributes? You know, what can we get out of these guys? And Daryl Tapp, just to piggyback off of that, he spoke to Scott Abraham yesterday. Not Scott Abraham, Lionel Willingham yesterday. And Lionel Willingham asked Daryl Tapp after practice yesterday, why was the run defense so bad last year? Pretty much like you had a chance to assess it this offseason. And what would you say were some of the reasons why the run defense wasn't up to par? And Daryl Tapp's response was kind of in line with what DQ was just saying. Like, he's like, bro, we got here last year and it was sort of a whirlwind. You know, he didn't want to, like, you weren't disjointed, but it was kind of scattered, right? Because everyone had just gotten here. You're trying to put the pieces of the puzzle together. Remember, they turned this roster over by nearly 60% last year. So you get here and it's a bunch of new guys. Not that Daryl Tapp wasn't new himself, and so new faces wasn't going to really affect him, but everybody was new. Everybody was trying to figure out where they fit in. And they didn't really know exactly what Joe Witt, because remember, Daryl Tapp wasn't with Joe Witt Jr. in Dallas, right? So he didn't know exactly. And this was Joe Witt's first time being a defensive coordinator. Even Joe Witt admitted last year there were times where he was trying to make the perfect play call. Instead of just trusting his guys, putting dudes in the best positions to be successful, he was trying to make the perfect play call. And he had to learn how to be a defensive coordinator. He had to learn what the things that he was looking for. And they had to learn how some of these guys operate and what were some of the best positions. And Tapp ain't want to say it, but we also were at a talent deficit last year. We were at a talent deficit. Most weeks we went into games, we weren't the more talented team. At least not up front on the defensive line. So he wasn't going to say that. But this year, he's like, we got a better understanding of, what the scheme is and what Joe Witt Jr. is looking for. He didn't want to say it, but I can say it for him. You have more talent now, too. You're deeper now. Carl Davis doesn't have to play 30% of the snaps for you in the NFC Championship game, right? You've got enough depth to where you shouldn't have to worry about if Deron Payne isn't in the game or Dorrance Armstrong isn't in the game, that the team isn't going to go to hell in the handbasket trying to stop the run. So, yeah, I think when DQ thinks about the year 2 picture, he's like, we're a lot more comfortable in who we are, what our identity is, what we're trying to accomplish and achieve, how we're trying to accomplish that. And he's like, for instance, last year, he's like, not necessarily afraid to have guys fail, but they were so caught up in just trying to figure out where all the pieces fit that they couldn't try certain things with guys to figure out if this suited them best or not. And he gave an example of a long, tall, rangy corner. And he said, last year we weren't looking at these players and saying, hey, go up and press. You might not have done that in college, but go up and press and let us see if that's something you're comfortable doing, or if you might be able to say, no, I like that. And I feel comfortable doing that, right? He's like, now we're comfortable with guys failing, right? That there could be successful fails where you can eliminate that. He can't do that, right? He might say, nah, that doesn't feel good to me. I'm not comfortable doing that. And you may be able to see that guy's not comfortable doing that. And last year, they weren't able to eliminate things based off of trial and error. They were just trying to figure out who fits where. So it's the same thing with, having that second year continuity. Last year, Jaden was just trying to come in here, get the verbiage down, be able to call plays, get everybody lined up. Except now this year, none of that shit matters. He's got that. That's all second nature now. Now it's more. Give me more, right? Now I can focus on the granular details, right? Couldn't do that last year. So it's year two is definitely different in that regard. So this next question was really funny because DQ chose, I think, to focus on Deebo Samuel here. He didn't have to do that. He chose to do that. So the question was to the effect of, you got all these guys that you have a game plan to stop in other places as an opponent, right? Deebo Samuel, Laramie Tunzel, Javon Kinlaw. Now that they're on your team and you had a chance to lay eyes on them, what are some of the things that has stuck out to you about these guys, And DQ said, yeah, all of these guys are, really great players, et cetera, but he honed in on Deebo Samuel. And he said, one of the things that always came to mind when I was game planning against Deebo Samuel was how physical he was, how hard he was to tackle. And then he would run by you and you go, oh, damn, I forgot about that part. Yeah, he can run a little bit. And so he said the thing that has surprised him the most about Deebo this offseason is his speed. And it's funny that he brought that up because that's on the heels of people giving Deebo a hard time about the little clip that was out there, which it was dumb. They were doing a walkthrough. You could clearly see they were doing a walkthrough. So he wasn't going full speed. It's an install period. So you're not running the fastest you can run. But, DQ was like, he's fast, and there have been periods during the offseason where he's been clocked among, the fastest players on the team this offseason. So he's like, that's the thing that has stuck out to him about Deebo. Not that he didn't already know he was fast, but to, see it up close, personal, and get that, wow, he's fast. That's something that I think he went out of his way to make mention of because he understood the assignment. He knew what was going on out there in those social media streets, and he wanted to put that to bed. That was DQ just being DQ, right? I think he did that on purpose. He's not oblivious. He knows what's going on, and he's like, all right, I got a chance to put that shit down, take it out back, bop, bop, and silence it. And I think he just did with that. Then he talked about Luke McCaffrey to finish up the presser. And he talked about, I love the way he was talking about Luke, because he used an analogy and he compared Luke to a golden retriever. He said, Luke last year played hard all the time. And I think we all can agree that there was never an effort issue with Luke McCaffrey. And, Luke did everything so jubilant and with a smile on his face. He was so energetic, right? It sucked. I mean, I think a lot of us wanted Luke to be more involved just because of how hard he played, right? I can't stress this enough. I've said this at least 50 times. That 4th down catch against Cincinnati, that wasn't for him. His biggest play of his rookie season was not intended for him. That pass was for Noah Brown. And because Luke was playing so damn hard, he intercepted a pass that wasn't for him and turned it into a massive gain. And that set the tone for that night. I don't know if Noah Brown was catching that pass. Jaden was forcing it in there. I think it would have been a chance he would have caught it, but it was going to be a bang-bang play. That defender was closing in on Noah Brown, and he was going to hit him probably simultaneously with the ball getting there. I would not have been shocked if that pass was incomplete. But Luke didn't leave it to chance because he plays so hard, right? We all highlighted the play that Olamide Zaccheaus made against the Cleveland Browns, where we had the big play, there's a fumble, and Olamide Zaccheaus recovers it. I want to say fumble. And Olamide Zaccheaus hustled from all the way on the other side of the field, 50 yards down the field to recover a fumble. Guess who was right there running behind him like a little puppy, like a golden retriever, right? Luke McCaffrey, right? If he didn't recover it, Luke probably would have recovered it. I remember a block Luke made to spring Jaden for a touchdown, and it was a hellacious block. And you went, hey, Luke out here playing hard, man. And he always did it with that little smile. And DQ said, he's like a golden retriever, man. You throw that ball, that golden retriever's going to go get it, he's going to bring it back. You throw it again, he's going to go get it and bring it back. And that was Luke. Always playing hard, reliable. You knew what you were going to get. And he said his competitiveness level, his level of compete is up here. And he said, what I've seen from Luke in year 2 is the skill level. Because he said, you got to remember, last year was only the 3rd year he's ever played the receiver position. I always try to keep reminding people of that. Like, wide receiver in the NFL is vastly different than wide receiver in college. This ain't the time for on-the-job training. You know, it's hard to get that kind of work at this level against the caliber of players you're going up against. So for him to be in the 3rd year of playing the receiver position, his 1st year in the NFL, the skill wasn't meeting the compete level. He said the skill level in year 2 is starting to rise. And he said you can see it in these 7-on-7s. You can see it with him route running wise, technique wise, you know, being more comfortable and in sync with Jaden and catching a football and making something happen after he catches it. His release off the line of scrimmage. He's like, all of these skills are starting to become fine-tuned. And he said, the compete is up here, and now the skill is starting to inch up. And he's like, you can deal with the guy with the compete, but not the skill, because they can continue to work. And we know he's going to work because the compete is here. So you know he's going to continue to get better over here. He said, but you can have the skill, but if the compete is down here, when it's time for you to be a dog, it ain't going to happen because you just don't have that. It's easy to get it done when you out here on the practice field. But when he said, when it gets hard, when you're getting challenged in the game, when they're jamming you off the line of scrimmage, when you got to make a tough contested catch, when things get tough, that's when you need that compete. And he said, we know Luke's got it. And now that level, that skill level is starting to climb, and he's getting where it can match up. And if it does, we know we've got something special, and we're not worried about him putting in the work. And that's kind of how I feel about Luke. Like, Luke's going to put that work in. He's going to put that work in. So that was DQ's presser. And I feel like, yeah, Miss Perry, that's that McCaffrey DNA for sure. From his dad, Easy Ed, to his son, Christian, to the other son, Luke. Like, you know what you're getting. You know what you're getting. So I wanted to talk about 2 videos that I watched over, I think it was 2-3 days ago. It had to be like Tuesday, Monday or Tuesday. And I was on the command. It had to be Tuesday because I was on the command. No, it wasn't Tuesday. It was Monday. I was on the Commander's YouTube channel. I was looking something up, non-Commanders related. But I always have my YouTube window on the Commander's channel so that if anything happens, anything goes live, I've already got it up. It's easily accessible. So I just happened to be on that channel. I was about to look something up on YouTube, and I just happened to look down, and all of the upload videos were there. And, you know, all of them got that little red bar at the bottom because I watched all of them, start to finish. And then there were 2 videos that somehow I magically missed. And I was like, when those get up there? And I looked at the time, and then those were videos that were uploaded, you know, eons ago, what it feels like. And one of them, and I'll talk about the second one in a second, one of them was Deebo Samuel's best highlights, right? The Commanders, when they made the trade for Deebo, they put together a montage of Deebo Samuel's best plays of his career to this point. And so I was like, 6 minutes and some change. I was like, yeah, I got a little bit of time. So I clicked on it. I was like, how did I miss this? And I watched it. And it started all the way back in his rookie season, all the way to present day. And so a lot of them were with him with the 19 on, putting in work. Underneath passes, shallow crosses, catch, run after catch. He had a crazy catch where he went up, climbed the ladder, caught a slant where the defender is playing against the Rams. He would always kill the Rams, it felt like. Was right there. And he jumped and he crossed Deebo's face. And normally when somebody, swipes in front of your face, you lose concentration because for that split second, you don't see the ball. And it's easy for you to not catch it like that. Well, he caught it anyway. I'm talking about he got up on that play, came down, and then just ran past everybody. And I'm just like, but then you get to where he's wearing number 1, and he wore number 1 for the first time in his career last year. And you get to that number 1, 2024 season, and he's still out here making plays. Still out here catching, short passes, turning them into big gains. Still out here running through guys. The Miami game, he catches a short pass underneath, runs through 2 tackles, dives for the end zone. You're still seeing him against Seattle. He had a catch down the sideline where he cooked everybody and gets into the end zone. Had a dope play where he spins at the sideline, gets in the end zone, and you're just like, Deebo's a problem still, a big problem. And as much as other fans will try to lead you to believe that he's cooked, he's washed, he's this, he's that, they are saying these things because they know he's a problem. And you couple that with the fact that the man is in a contract year. And oh, by the way, he's playing with Jaden Daniels, which is going to make him even more lethal. He's about to have a massive season, assuming health. Deebo Samuel's going to be a problem this year, a major, massive problem. My question is, how do they utilize him? Do they use him in the backfield, or do they just primarily use him as a wide receiving threat? Because to me, when he's at his best is when you give him the football in a multitude of ways, including out of the backfield. And it doesn't necessarily have to be him lining up at running back. Jet sweeps, things of that nature. I feel like we were one of the worst jet sweep teams I mean, because who were you really going to give the jet sweep to? I think the only jet sweep that had any real life to it was one that we gave to like De'Ami Brown, I think in week 18 against the Cowboys. Our jet sweep game was trash. And our wide receiver screen game was trash, really. Again, the only guy that could really run wide receiver screens here was De'Ami Brown. Terry got in the act against Detroit, but those Terry McLaurin catch, run after catch, big time plays are very few and far between. So this is a guy that's going to really upgrade the ability to just get it out of Jaden's hands, get it into a playmaker's hand, and allow big plays to happen. And again, I know I've said this a million times. I'm going to say it once more. The biggest thing that we were missing from this offense last year was the ability to just get it to somebody and let them do the work. We just didn't have that last year. We just didn't have it. And the only place we would get it from was De'Ami Brown. And that's not saying much, right? Now you got a legitimate threat with the ball in his hands every time he touches it. And that's going to help this offense beyond measure. Beyond measure. Then I watched and somebody, Jay Reyes says Eckler had a couple of Eckler had one or two nice jet sweeps. One I could remember was on a 4th down against Cleveland. I think it was Cleveland. It wasn't Cincinnati. It was Cleveland. Where he got the first down. Or it might have been. Yeah, it was Cleveland. It's one of them orange teams. I don't think it was Cincinnati. I know it wasn't Cincinnati. It was Cleveland. And he got the first down. I was trying to think, did he play against them? Because he didn't play. He got the first concussion against Cincinnati. He was having a really good night, too. He had the big kickoff return to start the second half. He had the touchdown run in the first half. He was really killing Cincinnati. And then he had the concussion, left that game. He didn't play against Arizona. He didn't make the trek to Arizona with us, but then he came back the following week against Cleveland, and that was the 4th down jet sweep that he had. And that was played well, and he made that a good play. It wasn't like he had a, great blocking. We caught him lacking and picked up 22 yards. Like, he had to make a guy miss on 4th and 1 to get it done. But our jet sweep game was ass, really. It really wasn't. It was non-existent. But I watched another video. And I don't know how I missed this one, because I've been all over these videos every fill in the blank of the 2024 season. Whether it's every Jaden Daniels touchdown or it's every touchdown the Commanders scored, whatever it looked like, I've watched it already, probably multiple times. Somehow, the Commanders put together a highlight clip of every sack the Commanders had in 2024. And I'm like, how did I miss that? So, of course, I went and watched it. And I watched it with this in mind, because when we have had conversations about pass rush, and I've already said that I think the pass rush is going to be better this year because of the depth and because I think the coverage on the back end is going to be strong. So I went in with the mindset of, let me see, because I don't know why I've had a lot of people tell me, we're not going to miss Dante Fowler Jr. A lot of his sacks were schemed up, and, he basically, for lack of a better phrase, he didn't win one-on-ones. He just got to the quarterback because it was schemed up for him to do so, which I I just going in the mental Rolodex, I'm like, that's not true. But seeing it reinforced it for me. I went back and watched every sack they added up there that this team had in 2024. And there were quite a few that you're like, okay, like Cleveland Farrell's 2 sacks, ass, right? He had the first sack of the season. I think the first 2 sacks of the season might have been Cleveland Farrell. I remember he was leading the team early on in the season, like, this is terrible. I think he got a sack against, we only had 1 sack against Baker. Because remember, we couldn't tackle Baker to save our life in that first week. And it was Clee. He tried to retreat, and he didn't know Clee was behind him, and he got him. I wish Clee would have tried to go after the ball, because I think the ball could have come out there. Then I think Clee was the one that cleaned up a sack in week 2 against the Giants. So I think he was leading the team after 2 weeks. I was like, this can't be life. But then after that, you started to see the D-line start to get their act together. In the Cincinnati game, Javonte John Baptiste got one in that game. Fowler, I think, got his first one in that game. And then from that point on, he was a man possessed. And what I saw was a guy that won consistently one-on-one matchups. There wasn't a lot of, like, maybe 2 or 3 of his sacks were, hustle, continuing to go on a play, never quitting. First guy didn't get him, but Dante did, or, the coverage downfield was good. He had to hold on to it. But like Dante Fowler, a huge chunk of his sacks were strictly him just whooping the dude in front of him's ass and getting to the quarterback. He got Lamar on the sack. First of all, you know how hard it is to sack Lamar Jackson. He got Lamar on a sack in the red zone where Lamar couldn't even move because he got there so quick. Before Lamar could even set up shop, he looked up and Dante Fowler Jr. is in his lap. And before he could even react to him, he was on the ground. I mean, that's how quick he got in. And you saw a lot of those type of sacks from him where he just beat the dude one-on-one quickly, got in the backfield. And I'm not here to prop up Dante Fowler Jr. and make it seem like he's some irreplaceable piece, but who's the guy that's going to win one-on-one matchups this year? Because every week you're not going up against elite tackles. And one thing I can say about Dante Fowler Jr. last year is when they put an inferior tackle in front of him, he beat him like a drum. When they put really good tackles in front of him, you really didn't hear from him, which is okay. Now you need other guys to step up. But when we played against the Carolinas, when we played against the Clevelands or the Cincinnatis, and to a lesser degree, when we played against Baltimore and some of these teams, he got after it. There were a number of 2-sack games where he was a problem. I mean, he dominated the Carolina game. So I just wanted to set the record straight that we had 45 sacks last year, and Dante Fowler Jr. was responsible for almost a quarter of those sacks. Just a shade under a quarter of those sacks. And of his sacks, probably about 80% of them were him just winning a one-on-one matchup and getting to the quarterback. I still think we're going to have more sacks as a team. I think the secondary is going to be much improved. I think you're going to see a unit that can rush together and guys, really making things happen collectively. But who's going to be that guy that can win one-on-one matchups? Because Fowler was the only one last year that consistently won. Dorrance Armstrong had his moments. He had his moments last year. And he came on like gangbusters towards the end of the season. And I think they finally did the thing that I thought they were going to do with him earlier in the year, which is move him around, kick him inside, reduce him, do the things that he was successful at. Like in Dallas, they didn't ask him to be an edge rusher. They kicked him inside on obvious passing situations, and that's what allowed him to be dynamic because he was quicker than the guards. He's not faster than and quicker than tackles, but he's quicker than guards. And we saw that in the playoff game against the Lions. He got to Jalen Hurts in the NFC Championship game. Hopefully, he's the guy that can pick up where he left off last year and be that guy that can get double digits. Frankie did some Ullman-like work, but I mean, Frankie's Frankie. I don't know if there's a 12.5 sack season in Frankie or not. He felt like he was well on his way last year, and then the faucet just shut off. So, again, I watched that video. I watched every single sack the Commanders had last year. And there's a lot of opportunities that will exist if this team can rush together as a unit, if guys can be physical. I really think if we can collapse the pocket on the interior, there will be more sacks for those guys rushing off the edge. But who's going to step up and be the guy on 2nd and 9 when you know they're throwing the football? They don't have to on 2nd and 9, but more likely than not, they are. Who's the guy that's going to get to the quarterback and make it 3rd and 15? The drive's over now. You get a sack, it's 3rd and 17. Drive's pretty much over at that point. Who's that guy? Because that was Dante Fowler Jr. last year. You know, team get in the red zone, and Dante Fowler Jr. gets a sack on 2nd and goal from the 6. Now it's 3rd and goal from the 13. Now you got a shot to get off the field, force a field goal. That was Dante Fowler Jr. last year. Who's that guy this year? Could it be Jacob Martin? Could it be Dorrance Armstrong stepping into that role and really asserting himself? Look, I hate to be the bearer of bad news. It ain't going to be Dietrich Wise, y'all. It's not his game. They brought this man here to stop the run, okay? They did not bring here. Any sacks that Dietrich Wise provides us is found money, okay? If Dietrich Wise gets us 4.5 sacks this season, we should feel fortunate. My guess is his career high. My guess, I can't say this with 100% certainty. My guess is his career high is 6.5 sacks. I'm about to look it up right now. Actually curious. Let's see. Dietrich Wise stats. Off by 1. Career high was back in 2022. He had 7.5 sacks. He's in his career always hovered around 4.5 to 5 sacks. Rookie season, 5 sacks. Second year, 4.5 sacks. Third year, 2 sacks. Fourth year, 2.5 sacks. Fifth year, 3 sacks. Sixth year, 2022, career high, 7.5 sacks. 2023, his 7th year, 4.5. Last year, his 8th season in the league, 5 sacks. So he's been pretty consistent throughout his career. He's going to live in that 3 to 5 sack range most seasons. And if we get 4.5 out of him, consider us lucky and fortunate. It'd be great if he got a 6.5. Great, but I'm not banking on that. I'm just looking for my 4 to 4. Like, that's an upgrade over Cleveland Farrell, folks. I think Clee got us 2.5 last year. Maybe I might be selling Clee short. He might have gotten us 4 last year. I'm going to look it up real quick. Because I remember watching that video, Clee, I had forgot all about the sack Clee had against Philadelphia in the second game when he hit Kenny Pickett and forced a fumble. Of course, we did not recover said fumble, but Clee was beside himself when he got that sack, right? He danced, ball on the ground, he dancing and shit, like, yeah, I did that. I'm like, get the goddamn ball. Let me look up Clee's stats from last year. see what he did. Klee had 3.5 last year. So if he can get us 4.5, that's an improvement by 1 over what Klee gave us last year. So in my mind, I'm hoping Jacob Martin is that guy. I'm not holding my breath. Collectively, Kinlaw comes in here and gives you 6. Duran ups his 4.5 from last year to 7, right? 7.5. Dorrance, I think, only had, what do you have in the regular season? I think Dorrance had 6 in the regular season. But, you know, he played really well in the postseason. Dorrance had 5 last year. So, you know, Dorrance ups his total to 7.5, 8. Like, that's how you make up the difference. That's how you push that total up over 50, is by everybody just doing a little bit more. Everybody that was here last year just doing a little bit more. You know, Frankie, I think he stalled out. Let me see where Frankie stalled out at. I think he stalled out at 8.5 last year. Eight. He stalled out at 8 last year. All right, which was a career high for him. Just give me them same 8. I ain't tripping. I'd love for you to go get double digits, but I'm no fool. Sacks are hard to come by. So go get them same 8 you gave me last year. That's more than enough. That's more than enough. From an off-the-ball linebacker, that's more than enough. You know, throw in some Jordan McGee, throw in some, you know, Mikey from the slot. I think Johnny Newton had 2. I'm looking for 6 bare minimum from him this year. I'm looking for him to be a problem. That's how you make up the difference. That's why I think we'll have more. But I'm looking for one guy to be consistently tough to block in one-on-one situations. Dante Fowler Jr. was that guy for us last year. He was a guy that you had to at least pay attention to in those situations. And hell, he even blew up some 4th down plays. Drew a holding penalty on 1 4th down. Had another play where against Carolina where he stopped the play in the backfield on a 4th down. Like, he was disruptive last year. Obviously, he wasn't great against the run, but he was disruptive. So that was something I wanted to share with y'all, having watched that video and looked at what they did. I'm going to be really interested to see who picks up the slack. Collectively, I expect them to do it. Will there be a guy? Will there be a guy? Like Joe Witt Jr. said, nobody expected Dante Fowler Jr. to do what he did last year. Nobody went into last year saying, yeah, Dante Fowler Jr. about to have double-digit sacks. I was just excited that we had a situational pass rusher. We got another one in Jacob Martin, but it's levels to this shit. And Jacob Martin, you know, he ain't never seen the levels that Dante Fowler Jr. hit last year. He ain't never seen that before. Not even remotely close to that. So I can't expect him to just all of a sudden get here and then lose his shit and black out. It'd be nice, but I'm not expecting that. So the offseason is finally in the books. Minicamp is over. So is the offseason. The next time you see the burgundy and gold on the field, it will be training camp. So now we're into the real dog days of summer. So prepare yourselves. All we have to look forward to now is the upcoming season. We'll be reliving some of what last season was, but it's more about now starting to talk about what's to come down the road, right? Now, what do we envision this 2025 season looking like? it's okay to acknowledge how far we've come and just how much we've achieved in such a short period of time. But these 40 days, you know, these conversations that we're going to have, it's all leading up to what we expect and hope to be one of the best seasons in Commanders franchise history, but in the Washington organizations, Redskins, football team, Commanders, one of the best in recent memory. Last year was that, but it didn't end in a chip. But what it did was it awakened a fan base that was starving for this type of success. And as bad as other fan bases want to shut us up, ain't no shutting us up. We here now. We ain't going nowhere. And we finna really do some damage. That's the scary part, is if we weren't a threat to them, it wouldn't warrant this type of behavior. People don't get bent out of shape about non-threats. I'm not trolling, and I'm not going to the lengths that we've seen these other fan bases go to get after other fan bases and teams that are non-threatening. Who's checking for the New England Patriots right now? I'm pretty sure, and I can't confirm this, Bills fans aren't trolling, and they're not. I mean, most of their fans aren't those type of people, but I don't know Bills fans to be that. But even if they were, they're not worried about the New England Patriots. They're not trolling the Patriots right now. They probably were as soon as Brady retired and they started to lose, because they had a bunch of pent-up frustration, over 20 years worth of getting their asses whooped by the Patriots, Brady winning the division every year. You damn right they were trolling Patriots fans. But now they're the little sisters of the poor, are the New England Patriots. You think Bills fans are checking for them right now? Nah. Probably ain't even checking for the Jets at this point. They're more so fixated with Kansas City and Baltimore and teams that they know they're going to have to go through if they want to get where they ultimately want to go. That's why we pose a threat in the NFC. Because teams know we're going to be in that mix, whether you like it or you don't like it. So this is our new existence. I told y'all, get used to this. Our movement's sick. Their movement's shit. So they better fall back and get used to this. Right? This is going to be a fun season. This 2025 season is going to be a movie. Get your popcorn ready, whatever beverage and refreshments are of your speed, whatever your vice is, get that. Because this season is going to be a movie. Anyway, I digress. That's going to do it for me, your man Louie T, here on the Command Post Live. You know what it is. Post up. Take command. I look forward to chopping it up with you guys. Bring the next time we will converse on a live setting will probably be on the other side of the weekend. Happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there. Big shout out to all of y'all holding it down as fathers. Sometimes we don't get the credit that we deserve. We're not searching for it. We don't look for it. We don't necessarily need it, but it's always good to hear it every once in a while and to be acknowledged. So shout out to all the fathers out there. And really, for me, it's the dads, because anybody can be a father, but it takes a real man to be a dad. That's how I feel. But shout out to all the dads out there, man. All right. Dads are the real men out there. Fathers, anybody can have a name on a birth certificate. Real men are dads, right? So shout out to all the dads out there holding it down. Really appreciate y'all. So with that said, enjoy the weekend. I'll have content for you just about every single day. Summer series. Louie's lurking in the comments, all that good stuff. So be on your P's and Q's, Y's and Z's. Hopefully I'll throw a podcast out tomorrow, but no guarantees on this end. You know how it is. We in the off season, so you know how it goes. So anyway, y'all take care of yourselves. I'll see you guys next time. Be easy. We styling on these hoes. We got them mad because we out here having fun. The off season's done. 2025 is going to be a movie. Man. Post up. Take a man. Chill.
Where you roared at? Bitch, you lagging out shit. You think